Picture this. You're getting kills, but you're losing fights, objectives slip away, and you're stuck wondering what went wrong. The answer? It's not your aim. It's that basic macro has not been sufficiently taught to the Marvel Rivals player base, because I still see bronze level macro mistakes in GM and above. Well, it might be your aim.
The moon haunts you.
Mastering macro in hero shooters like Marvel Rivals is the difference between mindlessly respawning and actually controlling the game. In the next few minutes, we will break down everything you need to know from map control to ult economy, so you can start winning more games right now. What is micro versus macro? Micro is your mechanical skill, movement, and reaction speed. Macro is, well, everything else. Your positioning, decision making, rotations, ability usage, and game knowledge. You can have god tier aim, but if your macro sucks, you'll always suck. So let's fix that. First things first. In every game and every match, there is a clear win condition. Are you stalling for a big ultimate? Do you need to break through the enemy's tanks? Do your flankers need to kill the healers in order to win a team fight? You need to understand your win conditions in order to secure a win. I know, what a concept. Whether it's controlling space, forcing ult trades, or staggering respawns. If you have your ultimate up on Storm, but you know for a fact that Luna, Mantis, and Cloak and Dagger all have their ultimates up, your ult on Storm isn't going to be that effective. However, if you know the enemy team only has one defensive ult, and your teammate has Star-Lord ult ready, communicate with your team that you are using your ult to force out the enemy's sole remaining defensive ult in order for your Star-Lord to clean up the fight. Hell, sometimes the enemy team will use 2 defensive ults at once because of solo queue coordination, and you get huge value for one ult. Now let's go over the 2 different types of objectives. One is pushing the cart or payload, and the other is controlling an area. Convoy maps are solely pushing a cart, domination is all about controlling an area, aka King of the Hill, and convergence sort of combines the 2 together. When pushing the cart, you should have at least one person on the cart at all times. It moves significantly slower with no one on the cart, and an enemy flanker can just walk up, recapture it, and then it's moving backwards. Please, don't have your entire team play team deathmatch 100 feet away from the cart. Always be mindful on if someone is on the cart or not. The cart moves the fastest with 3 people on the cart, but having at least one person is a must. Another thing to keep in mind is that on all game modes, if someone from the other team is on the point when the time runs out, the match will go into overtime. There is an 8-second timer that will start ticking down for each second there is no one from the other team on the point. So if someone on your team is yelling, touch, 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 they're trying to get you or someone on your team on point to activate overtime, because it won't activate if it's not being contested. Next up is map control and positioning. The team that controls space the best controls the fight. Holding high ground gives you vision, better angles, and safer positioning in most cases. Choke points funnel enemies into predictable paths, making them easy targets. Tanks need to be at the front, obviously, but if you're pushing so deep that you get cut off from being healed by group walls constantly, maybe you should consider playing a little bit further back. The DPS should be in a proper position, whether that is on the aforementioned high ground, on the flank looking for cheeky picks on the backline healers, or sitting close to your healers to provide them with immediate peel if need be, unless you're playing something unconventional like Wolverine. This makes healers the backline. But don't just stand there holding left click. You gotta be moving around to keep an eye out for those pesky flanking DPS and to constantly keep your teammates in line of sight. Also worth noting, if you are a healer and your whole team is full health, shoot at the enemy team. Learning how to balance healing and damage dealing will separate you from the many heal bots in all ranks. Walls and corners are your best friend. Play near them whenever you can. That way, if you start getting shot at, you can quickly take cover behind the wall and get healed back up so you can repeat the process or change your angle. Fighting from low ground can be disadvantageous. If you're constantly fighting from low ground, out in the open, or at bad angles, you're giving the enemy an advantage for free. High ground gives you those better angles, easier cover, and makes you harder to hit. Just know when it is time to move off of it. If the enemy has high ground, don't just run at them. Flank, rotate, or force them down. Abilities that displace a lower mobility DPS can absolutely ruin their day. There are certain DPS that should almost never be playing with their team. Hela wants to sit on high ground when she can. Spider-Man, Black Panther, and other divers want to dive all day long, and flyers be flying. But this doesn't mean that you can't heal them. Luna's Snowflake is great to drop on a diver and then spam heal tanks, as it heals the Snowflake target when you heal any other ally. Which leads us into our next tip about ultimate economy and ability management. We see people blowing or stacking ults randomly, and it is one of the fastest ways to lose the match. Oh, he pressed Q? I'll press Q. Hey, we're all pressing Q, guys! Track enemy ults, predict when they'll use them, and counter accordingly. If the enemy just burned their big defensive ult, that's your moment to push hard. Also, don't waste key abilities before fights. If you use your only escape move to poke, you're a free kill when the fight actually starts. There is a time and place to over ult. For instance, when you just want to guarantee getting to the next checkpoint, when you need to clear the point in overtime, or those times when you really need to kill through support ults. The best example of tracking enemy ult is Doctor Strange. If you see Strange flying around above your team holding his shield, he's looking for a good ult. Strange can be countered by good reaction time and support ults or shields. Something that we find that people don't really do is watch your death replay to see what the enemy's ult charge looks like. You can also maybe get a glimpse of their Rocket's relay or Wolverine's passive healing cooldown. Take whatever information the game allows you to have. Next up, we have team composition and synergy. Not all hero pairings work well. Some comps thrive on fast dives and quick rotations, whereas others need slow, methodical engagements. This game is built around the hero team-ups. You might want to play around that. Great synergy or powerful team-up can turn a B or A tier hero into an S tier hero in the right situation. Likewise, understanding what your comp excels at and playing around it will elevate your game. If your team relies on sustain with 3 healers, 2 tanks, and a solo DPS, you can't exactly all in at will. You need to slow it down and look for picks. Solo tank with 3 DPS and 2 supports means you will depend on your solo tank staying alive and your 3 DPS all having good games. Otherwise, it's time to blame the supports. Knowing what counters you is incredibly important to know. If you like playing Luna, but you're playing versus a diver, and you're not super great at hitting a hero dashing in at Mach 10, try swapping to Cloak and Dagger or Invisible Woman, as they have survivability with Cloak's right click or Vanish, and Invisible Woman's double jump passive. If you're playing a Flyer versus a Punisher, probably worth switching to a ground-based DPS. You're playing Groot and they have a Weed Whacker? I mean, Wolverine? I'm pretty sure any other tank would be better. Now, this next point is going out to all the DPS players out there. So listen up, if you let your healers die, you will lose. You need to peel the backline divers off your healers. Peeling simply means protecting teammates from threats by literally peeling the divers off of your backline. If the enemy is diving and shredding your healers, help them. And no, it is not the responsibility for your tanks to peel. This is not Overwatch. There is no Roadhog hook. Well, there is, but it's on Bucky, a DPS. There is no off tank that babysits the backline. I'm not letting supports off the hook though. You are not frontline. You need to understand sightlines too. If you are dying a lot as a healer, there is no way it is because of a lack of peeling literally every single time. Good macro isn't just about getting kills. It's about keeping your team alive to sustain longer fights. And a dead healer can't heal anything. Now let's talk about engaging and disengaging. Not every fight is winnable. If you're outnumbered or outpositioned, just disengage and regroup. Fighting for the sake of fighting is a waste and will cause your team to stagger. Stagger just means that instead of regrouping and trying to push together, you're being killed one by one and you're wasting time that could be used regrouping and looking for your own pick or engage. So instead, force fights where you have the advantage, whether it's numbers, high ground, or cooldowns. Disengage and regroup when you don't have the advantage because a 4v6 is almost always unwinnable. And burning Groot ult when you don't have follow-up, or using your ult right before you die when you are the only member on your team alive will just make everyone mad. Sometimes it's better to just run into the enemies and die to regroup as 6 quicker, ideally on point. On the flip side, maybe it's smart to hold off on killing their last remaining player. Just trap them and wait a bit so you can cause a bigger stagger. This next one goes out to the one-trick solo queue heroes. You need to adapt to the enemy's playstyle and stop playing the same way every match. If the enemy keeps flanking your backline, adjust and shut them down. If they're holding defensively, force them to reposition. Good macro is about adapting, punish habits, don't repeat mistakes. There have been countless games where the enemy Spider-Man, Black Panther, or Iron Fist was diving the healers endlessly. And after we started peeling for our backline, we went from losing every fight to stomping every fight and forcing the enemies to play different heroes. Next, let's talk about playing in solo queue. Solo queue means unpredictable teammates. Instead of complaining, control what you can. Make simple callouts, call out your ult charge, play around your strongest teammate, which is not always going to be you, and adjust to their playstyle. If you're in a pre-made, take charge. Call rotations, track ults, call out how your team can win the next fight, and force good engagements. And above all, try to keep good mental. Keeping a good mental can turn your team getting stomped into a stomp against your opponents. Another key point to consider is that high impact abilities decide fights. If the enemy just used a key cooldown, they're vulnerable. Bait out abilities before committing. This is especially crucial in 1v1s. If you can force out a big heal or big damage ult first, you've already won. Especially in the meta we have right now. Healing is overtuned by quite a bit, so big damage moves like Iron Man's Pulse Cannon or Magneto's Meteor M can be used to one-shot an ulting healer and completely flip the fight. That is, if they land. Now let's talk about resource management. Survival isn't just about healing from your supports. Learn health pack locations and disengage before you're so low that you can die from a rocket a mile away. Well, a rocket that isn't perma holding down right click. If you're constantly dying without using resources, you're throwing. If you're on attack, the payload has a slight heal over time. It's not much, but it's something. Now let's dive into tempo and fight pacing. Fights don't have to be all in immediately. Sometimes, poking and chipping away enemy resources before committing is the right move, like waiting for the enemy's strange shield to break or for him to use his jump so you can hella ult without him blocking your ult. Other times, a fast dive is needed to secure kills before they can react. Venom and Spider-Man diving a Luna before she even has a chance to use her freeze. Learn when to play slow and when to push an advantage really hard. You will also need to play around the revives, whether it's Rocket Relay or Adam Warlock's ultimate. If you get a pick on a key hero, but you know Rocket is on their team, you should quickly check the scoreboard to see if they're actually dead. You can see if they actually have a death timer or not. Just press tab. If you have good game knowledge and macro skills, and you are a great communicator, maybe shot calling the fights could be a big help. Having clear, simple comms wins games. But not so simple. Instead of saying, I think we should push left, say, okay guys, let's push left and make our way to high ground to try and get a pick. Target calling is great too. Calling to finish off their low health targets can turn a fight where the rest of your team was just going to focus on hitting tanks when supports were low and out of position, or tunneling on backline when the enemy tanks were being overwhelmed and were much easier kills. Confidence and clarity makes a huge difference, even in solo queue. Most players will follow a good call, and if you've proven to make good calls before, they'll be quicker to follow them. I don't know how many games we did terribly in the first round with zero communication, only for someone to start making calls after that and absolutely snowballing the rest of the game in our favor. A way that always helps you improve is by watching your replays. Find out where you died, what you could have done better, and adjust. Was the healer really not healing you, or were you just putting yourself in a really bad position getting hammered by squids? Just be honest with yourself. Self-awareness is the key to self-improvement and climbing. Now let's look at dealing with tilt. Are you on a 4-game losing streak? Take a break, grab a drink, a snack, or go touch some grass. Playing while frustrated makes your macro worse. Stay focused, and if things aren't working, change your approach instead of blaming teammates. Maybe you're having an off game and a change of roles will help your team play better? The hero you're playing might be your best, but maybe you took it away from someone who's a one-trick and your flex picks are better than theirs. All of this boils down to one thing: playing smarter. Climbing isn't about getting top frag every match. It's about consistently making better decisions. Who cares about MVP if you are consistently winning? Improve your macro and the ranks will follow. And that's your crash course in macro for Marvel Rivals. If you found this helpful, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. We will be covering even more in-depth strategies soon. Let me know in the comments what macro mistakes you see the most, and I'll see you in the next one.